Good morning, everyone. We are in wonderful sunny Dalgety Bay with glorious blue sky. Actually, there's not a cloud in sight. What a glorious day. And focused here on the Celtic cross, which is outside our church building. And as many of you will know, of course, that cross is the top of our war memorial. And so here I am outside the back door of Dalgety Parish Church, and we have our poppy wreaths set from November still here until they get too scraggy, and then we tend to move them on. We have poppy wreaths all round, and they mark the fact that so many groups, individuals, organisations are concerned and worried about war, who mark the end of war by marking our thanksgiving to those who gave their lives in 2 world wars. And we have them, the names of what was a very small parish in those days, the names of those whose lives were taken, given, however you want to look at it, and obviously all these poppy wreaths. Remembering war, we always hope that it will be a case of remembering past wars, and yet today we know very well that we are in a very fearful, frightening, difficult place with what is happening in Ukraine and the Russians who have crossed so many borders and are pushing in to cities. We had our peace service on Sunday afternoon with over 60 people who came very last minute to pray openly for peace, to show a community and to show a world that we don't all want war. We want something better for ourselves and for the generations to come. Out here now in this place of our war memorials, we have 2 additions which were only put in place last week. They arrived in Dalgety Parish Church and were held inside until the weather eased enough. And as war erupted in Europe once more, we put in place 2 benches with the poppies, with the images, the silhouettes of soldiers to remember this one, the Second World War. Round the other side we have the other bench. We got 2 thanks to a legacy from somebody, and this one marks the First World War. It has the dates 1939, sorry, the Second World War, 39 to 45. 6 years of war, of killing, of fighting. And on this bench we have the dove of peace, of the Holy Spirit, the dove carrying that olive branch to say, let's not fight, but let's speak. Let's discern the way ahead as best we can together, rather than fighting. So yes, this one for the Second World War, the other one for the First World War. This one showing the British Isles with barbed wire around it. We have much to think about wars, about the devastation, about the realisation that 100+ years on, we still remember with horror what happened, and that 70+ years on, we remember with horror what happened in people's living memory. For those of us who do not have a living memory of war, quite honestly, we don't want to have a living memory of war. And yet what is happening in Ukraine right now, and the people who are fleeing for their lives across borders, having travelled many, many days to get there, are scenes that we somehow want to rub out, perhaps, of what we've seen, and yet we can't. Scenes in which we want to offer help, and yet that help too is limited. We are so far away. And scenes that we simply want to, in some way, wrap up in God's love and care. And that we can do. That we can do through our prayers, through our giving to charities, to aid. That we can do by giving our time to consider what we can do to help. But what we can also do in our own sphere, in our own little worlds, in our own lives, to be channels and instruments of God's peace. Angry words come so easily. In these past 2 years especially, frustration has grown. And although we said we would have patience and kindness abundant when this all ended and we were free from restrictions of COVID, that has in too many times, in too many ways, gone by the board. And our frustrations show, our impatience shows. Anxious to get back to a way of life that we remember and we know and that we are comfortable in working through. But whatever we are able to do, we are not able to go back. We are not able to turn the clock back. We are not able to go back and retrace our steps and do things differently. We can only do what we can do now in this present day. The benches here are wonderful. They are strong, they are sturdy, and they will last. The peace that we know in our world, in our lives here, in Dalgety Bay and in the UK, will that last? What can we do? Feeling helpless is also a frustration. But let's make it into a positive frustration. Let's make it into an energy, an impulse, a desire, an intention to live our lives building bridges, to use our lives to build longer, bigger tables to gather people round. Let us use our lives and our voices and the freedom that we have to make justice for people. And let's continue in one way, as best we can, to write to whomever we feel will listen, MSPs, MPs, even though they themselves do not have power, they may have ways to find the people who do. Let's use our freedoms and our time and our energy to write to these people and say that we, the people of this country, we, the people who vote in our MPs and MSPs and people of power, that we want our borders to be more open, to give safe refuge, safety, welcome and love to those who are fleeing from war. And let us also look to see what we can do to help the countries around Ukraine who are receiving refugees this second, this moment. Families who have fled, most often without husbands and fathers, for they must stay and fight. And let's see what we can do to help those charities and agencies who are taking refuge to refugees and to others, and taking to the people who are still in Ukraine what they need, the practical, material things that they require, but also the thoughts and prayers and best wishes of us all, that they will know that they are not forgotten. We live in frightening times, and as yet we are far from the borders of war. But our hearts need to be close to our God and to those who are living through this awfulness. Skies around here are blue. Signs of springtime in the flowers and in the noise, the singing of the birds. Signs that our lives are getting back to normal as the traffic increases once more. Signs that our church is open. But let us also give signs that our hearts are open to all who need to know that they are welcome. As Andrea said in her reflection last week, we need to let people know it is a place, a space for each and every one, not only in God's heart, but in ours. That's a large challenge for today and for every day. But it is a challenge of faith that we need to take up. And as we stand a day away from Lent, perhaps rather than give up anything this Lent, perhaps for every day we take up that challenge to make someone feel secure, feel loved, and to let someone know there is a place for them, a space for each and every one. My prayer for you this week, my prayer for myself this week, is that I face that challenge and I do it each day, and I take time each day to step out of my comfort zone perhaps and to say to somebody, you are loved. Enjoy this glorious day in Dalgety. Focus on that dove rather than the barbed wire and the bombs and the fighting. Focus on that symbol of peace and spread it. Spread it as far and wide as you can. God bless you and enjoy your day.